guys, it's Julie, and I thought I would bring you through some of my decision making as I'm thinking towards 2025. I want to preface this by saying that I get really sick of the noise around the next year's planner, and here I am contributing to it. But sometimes I just think, like, if you have a system that's been working for you 1 year, just never mind all the new options and just stick with what you have, right? Like, that's my practical side telling me that, and reminding myself of that when I see other people talking about options for the next year. But then every year I basically fall prey to it. And you're going to see as I kind of walk through these options that I'm still in this process where I'm kind of opening my brain to ideas. And definitely at some point I'm just going to shut it. I'm just going to be like, no, you make a decision and go. My goal is to pick a planner, to stick with it for the year, to dive into it, to make it work. Obviously, in years past, I have fluttered between planners, and I think we all do a fair share of that. But ultimately, my goal is to really simplify my planner and then to use a journal to kind of be that flux of creativity where maybe I, stamp a lot, I sticker a lot, and I have fun with it and change it up the look from day to day, from week to week. But like my planner, ideally for me, would just stay consistent. Like, to me, that helps my brain sort out things a little bit better. And I have come to that from years and years of trying to squeeze creativity into my planner. I feel like I've tried to combine the two kind of in an effort to be like functionally creative. And I'm a little bit more like, you know what, forget it. Just have fun being creative in something. And so you can kind of see I'm starting to make this little divide here. These are the creative journal options that I am wanting to consider for 2025. And these are the planner options that I am still considering and still weighing out. I mean, they do intertwine a little bit because whether or not I'm like daily journaling in a planner affects the energy and the interest I have in daily journaling in a journal, or like just doing a weekly recap. And so that's what this guy is. You can see the difference in these two. These are the Flex covers from Hemlock Oak. Love this color of green. I'm not a huge fan of this, but I'm not gonna lie that I initially thought it didn't really matter what color cover I got because I would most likely take it apart like I have in the past and put these into discs. So I did opt for the horizontal option. And that is interesting to me because I really do kind of have a format that definitely goes, numbers across the top for the dates, more of a vertical, but I don't follow a vertical journaling format. So honestly, as I'm looking at this, I literally could have just gotten like a grid and just kind of left it be at that. But I do like the structure. So like it's kind of this little dance of like, I want my journal to be open to whatever I want it to do. Like, do not boss me around, thank you very much. But I also like to turn the page and already have the dates set up and not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm starting from ground zero. So this like delicate dance, like you will find that on repeat for everything. There's always like, I want this and I want this, and somehow I have to find something in the middle, right? So you're gonna see that probably throughout my entire selection process. But this is what I purchased. In hindsight, I kind of wish I had just done the vertical, not the horizontal, but I'm not closed off to this idea. I think I chose this one kind of considering that it could potentially be my planner, but ultimately I do feel like it is a little bit too big for me. But yeah, I feel like I'm gonna keep options open on this, and I'm gonna not write in it yet in case I decide to gift it to someone else in my life. I have other people that, I can usually pass one of these guys off if I don't end up using it. So then we go to the daily, and if you know me and have followed some of my flip throughs of my journal, I did attempt to do a daily this year in 2024, and I definitely took apart the daily option. This is what my daily looks like, my actual book that I purchased for 2024. It's like been robbed. This section, July, I left, I opted for doing a weekly recap, and so I left pretty much most of July in there. You're gonna kind of see that, but the other months I had taken out, punched, and put into discs. This is just kind of how it has turned out. I have two of these, one for January to June, and this is my July to December. And it does take bulk and space, but I think that this is very overwhelming to look at. Whereas like once I break it up into two, that's a little bit more doable in my mind. But I honestly am going back and forth between whether or not I want to commit to daily pages or whether I just want to do the weekly recap. I feel like the weekly recap still gives me opportunity to be creative, to put some stickers and stamps down on paper, which I'd love to do, to print some photos, tell some stories. And This one probably gives me a little bit more space than I need, but this one also provides me that opportunity that like if I see something in life that just inspires me to recreate it, I have a whole page to just mess around and play with that. And that is ultimately a goal of mine, is to flex that creative muscle. So whether or not I end up using every daily page, like I have no issue taking this and turning it into a weekly recap, and then having the daily pages available if I choose to use them. So I leaned probably towards this direction because, and I'm like literally processing it on the fly. You can't tell, can you? But anyways, I think that this gives me the options of the daily space, or I can absolutely switch them over into weekly pages, and it just kind of has worked for me. I feel like I don't have a lot of pressure. I'm pretty loose with it. So I think that this may be the direction I go. Again, looking at this is very daunting, and the thought of like trying to keep it together is crazy to me. I don't know that a flex would hold up to my creative journaling process, the flex cover. I think if you wanted to keep a book together, I would encourage you to choose the harder book bound format. This one to me just screamed like, rip me apart. It was fine. It was gonna be okay. I wish I could take that apart and punch this and like let this be part of the cover because it's so pretty. I might try to do that. We'll see how savvy I get with my X-Acto knife. So it's looking like this one is potentially going to be a gifted away option, and we're already narrowing it down. Look at us. Thanks for your help. Okay, so that was Creative Journal. So that is not even, it is a planner. You could use it as a planner, but I use it as a journal. So I feel like, okay, that decision is basically made for 2025. Let's scoot that out of the way. And let's talk a little bit about planner choices. So I'm going to start off saying that this year I have used, since March, my Hobonichi Cousin, and I'm pointing at this because it's tucked inside here. The thing with this is that I do feel like I'm in two camps. I want to scale back my planner, keep it very minimal, have it just be a place where I scratch out my plans. That's part A. Part B is like, I would like to reprioritize my time a little bit better, think through the whole year a little bit better. I just feel like I could better utilize a planner. Right now, if I'm being completely honest, I feel like it's a nice little decorative activity for me. This is, I think, the current week. And I love to put the pretty little sprinkles on. It's reminding me and keeping me on tab for a few things, but ultimately I'm not entirely sure I would say that this is a tool that's helping me be productive in any way. And so I'm kind of asking myself, like, am I using this because it's fun, because I can use stickers, or am I using this and really getting the most out of it that I need? And that's just a question that I'm going to kind of always be asking myself. I'm kind of always trying to tweak it, and I'm wishing that I could just release the creativity, pour that into my creative journal, and like really just dive into like a planner. But the reality is that my lifestyle right now, I don't have that much to plan. So I'm kind of at this crossroads. Do I dive in and try to do a better job of scheduling my time and maximizing that? Do I go that direction? Do I go get a part-time job? Like, I'm just kind of in this limbo, but we like to travel, so I like to have the flexibility of being able to do that. Way more than you need to know out of a 2025 planner setup video. But I feel like you kind of have to consider that. Like, where are you at in your life? How much structure do you need? How much guidance and push do you need? This book does not address goals at all, and I truthfully love that. But I was looking back through an older half letter, and it's like I had really taken out the time to really pursue, like, what did I want to do and how was I breaking that down? And to be honest, I probably had a more productive overall year that year because I was just being more mindful. And so this year I feel like I've kind of not floundered, but just kind of like enjoyed myself, just been like the happy-go-lucky little planner, putting down some stickers, we're happy, and that's totally fine and cool. But I kind of have to make that decision. Like, do I just kind of want to keep on this path where I'm just, lollygagging through life? Or do I want to choose to be a little bit more selective and more proactive, I guess I would say, with my time, with the way I plan, with what I'm planning, and like if I'm like truly going after the things that I want for my life, right? So I have not purchased a Hobonichi Cousin for 2025. I felt like I wanted to go smaller. I wanted to downsize this whole planner thing. But like I said, as of late, I've been like, what do I want to do? I really feel comfortable in this. I've really found my niche. I feel like I know exactly where to find information in here. So, to be honest, I'm still considering this, even though I haven't purchased one. But I am also thinking going smaller with a B6 option, or I'm literally like, oh, do I want to go back to half-letter discs? There is something about half-letter discs and the ability to throw away a piece of paper that I mess up that makes me just more willing to take risks in it and makes me feel like, write it down, Julie, write it down. And then if it doesn't work out, oh well, you could always redo it. So ever so secretly on the side, I've been kind of thinking about setting up a 2025. I was just using my undated inserts that I have in my shop, and like enjoying the fact that I can stamp a date on there. I can write the other ones in. I don't care. I'm scribbling through stuff right now because these are sheets that I can throw away, but just kind of toying with the idea. And maybe even like this is like a pre-planning thing for me. Like I'm always like a quarter out, you know, thinking ahead a quarter. But I really miss the exercises that my husband and I used to do. We would really like sit down, and he even talks about it. He's like, when are we gonna get out your planner? We would sit down and like map out the whole year. I love these trackers. I'm not gonna lie about that. I love this paper to track on because everything just shows up a little bit differently. He and I would really go through and like think about like what kind of things we wanted to add on our schedule. So even if I'm being that like loosey-goosey girl, it still requires some planning to like go have fun in the world. No, but like our kids live away from us. So we like plan trips to go see them and kind of make sure that, you know, it's not been months and months since we've seen them, or that we're not going to see one child and not the other. That could trigger someone potentially. So then obviously also budgeting for that costs money, but then we also have things at our house that we want to accomplish. So like looking at that overall picture, I feel like is important. And I don't feel like I'm doing that in this book. So just going to say half-letter rings are kind of always on the table. I definitely stepped back in 2024. Don't really have anything there, but I've already kind of beefed up and like planned out a tiny little bit in 2025, just printed some things anyway, so that I have them there. Would still want to tweak those a little bit, but they're there, just kind of always in the background. And then this one I have set out because I'm just admitting, like every year, I think I buy the Papertess B6, and every year I forget. I think her style is so nice, and I just think it's just perfectly graphic. This is obviously very similar to a sterling ink, but she just has her own footprint, and I like that. I love this weekly setup. I always forget that I just don't think I want this many pages between my weeks. I feel like that would frustrate me. I like to flip between my weeks, like here's this week, next week, what's the next week? And I don't want to flip through 7 pages to get there. So if she had laid it out with all the months, all the weeks, all the days, I think I've just gotten used to that Hobonichi layout, and this boggles my brain a little bit. So kind of flipping you through that so you could see it. It's, you know, nice paper, just well designed. It doesn't like have anything screaming at me with pink Sundays or anything like that. I don't think that's going to be my one. So, however, I think I bought that, and I immediately purchased a B6 Codex thinking if I purchase a cover, it will solidify my decision. Wrong. That's like the biggest lie I ever tell myself. So now I have this B6 Codex. I love it. It's my usual like beige Croco with the tan interior. This time, instead of the velvet sand, I went with this Alizon. And I think it's just going to be a lot more forgiving. I have to be careful with it. It's obviously a light color, but it's not like I put my finger on it and have a fingerprint there. That's how I felt like with the other one. And then I found this Aura Estelle. So actually what I did is I looked back and I had this older one from 2023, and I brought it back out and was like, you know, why not that one? It'd be a perfect size. Talk about like sizing down your planner. I thought it would be perfect. I even played with this week in October, just kind of double planned that week to see kind of if I could get all the information on here that I wanted. And it's almost like just I took my Hobonichi layout that I, you know, the vertical, and it's like I almost just switched it and did it this way instead. I mean, not, but it's like every line that I have here drawn out, like I had a space for it here. So that's cool. That works. I could absolutely work with this, and I may. It's just kind of back to that same issue of like, am I mapping out all the things? Or do I somehow feel, I think I feel a little bit claustrophobic in book-bound books because I just feel like I don't have a second chance. If I write something, that's that, I'm in. And for some reason, that freaks me out. You'd think that I was this many years into planning and it wouldn't be a big deal. But here I am admitting like, yeah, it's still a little bit of a deal for me. I've done it this year and here, but like I said, I haven't taken big risks. So it's like, I can safely plan on this and I can absolutely lay my stuff out. It's just the question of whether or not it's going to stretch me. I'm going to get all the things done that I usually do. You know, I could absolutely just do that. It's like, do I want a little bit of a push? And that's a big Julie question. So we're just kind of going to still work on figuring that out. This is the 2025 version of that, and it's a little bit thicker than I expected. I was honestly planning on pairing this little thin one with a B6 Stalogy here in my notebook, and it's a little bit thicker than I think I wanted it to be. So this could be a good combination. It's just not that one, it's this one. And so it's just a little bit chunkier than I think really truly fits in this notebook. Like, does it fit? Does it close? Yes, but does it, like, is it ideal? No. The B6 is ever so slightly different size too than the Aura Estelle. So that just, there's a little bit overhang. Am I gonna let that catch me up and get hung up on that? Maybe. We'll see. So if you expected a really clear, defined, well written out, logical plan for my 2025, I'm so sorry to disappoint. If you've been here a while, I think you knew that coming in, that Julie would not probably have the most logical plan laid out. I am probably creative first, then plan minded. I definitely feel like I struggle to get the plans out of my head and onto paper, as I've kind of expressed. It's something that I kind of force myself, encourage myself to do, and sometimes I don't, so it's just kind of what it is. But I thought I would just lay that out there. I'm curious if any of these like are resonating with you. Are you guys like Hobonichi Cousin users? You curious about going down to a smaller size? Yeah, which one of these do you guys resonate with? The planner selection is still to be determined. And I think as I talk myself through it, I mean, I might start fussing around with some more half letter stuff to just kind of see, like, do I want to do that? Would that work? I still, first and foremost, like, want the flexibility in my life to ebb and flow. And I feel like I'm learning that I am a creative and my interests ebb and flow. My creativity ebbs and flows. So I'm not going to like structure myself to a point where I am miserable. I kind of learned that about myself, and I'm open in my lifestyle. It works. So that kind of, I don't know, like which one of these is going to be the one. We'll see. It's not to say that I couldn't structure myself here in the Hobonichi. It would just be a little bit different, and I'd have to be willing to write some things down that maybe gets crossed out. I don't know. But I also like planning quarterly, and there's a lot of things that I could add and subtract here in my discs that just make sense for me. So yeah, so I love the Hobonichi. I feel like I've made peace with it. I feel like I've done, like the best I can do in it. It's been there for me. The other thing I will say that I don't love about a Hobonichi is the daily section. If I'm doing daily journaling, I feel like it's super redundant. And while this can just be like a notes section, it doesn't have to be like pour your heart out. I also just feel like I was at war with myself a little bit this entire year. Like when this one was doing really well, my creative journal was probably kind of lagging. When I was smoking and going to town in that one, this one would have some empty pages, and that's okay. Like I'm comfortable with that. But I mean, ideally, I feel like I want to pour my energy into one and then let the other one, just be a planner. But obviously with this big of a section of your planner being devoted to daily pages, then I'm kind of like, So it's like, ultimately I need the weeks and I need the months from this, not the dailies. And I feel like I could do that in here really easily because I never really did dailies in my half letter. So yeah, or in the B6, like the little Aura Estelle B6, it doesn't have a strong daily section. It just has a few extra notes pages. I'm sorry, I didn't like walk you guys through that very well at all. So just so that you know, going forward, like it's monthly and then a little bit of an overpage, you get the weeks and then back to a new month. So those are all, it's like month, weeks. And I like that because I can put tabs on that, find my month. I can locate my week probably pretty easily in that situation. And then here, about here on this is just notes. So there's that much notes. And so that could be like a place for me to scratch things down, to brainstorm video ideas, or, whatever it is that I feel like I'm pursuing this next coming year. It does give me some space for that and to still kind of stay structured here on these pages. So it's not to say I couldn't make this work. I just have to make a decision, because the longer I wait to make the decision, the more I spiral. And then I like waste a whole 4 weeks in January just kind of still thinking through it. So I would like my decision to be made. I will keep you guys posted. So those are the things I'm considering. I feel like this probably was just a waste of your time to watch. I'm really sorry, but it's just kind of like, hey, fellow planner that struggles with this decision. I'm sure you can relate, maybe. And if any of you are just like, yeah, super planner oriented. Number one, I don't think you're watching YouTube videos, but number two, I'm not your channel. All right. But if you did like this and you want to stick around and you want to see more from the Scatterbrain Planner, then make sure you're subscribing. And otherwise, I will catch you next time. So I went ahead and I tucked in like the front cover of the Aura Estelle Essential Weekly and the Stalogy. I think there's a half year Stalogy. That might be a better option. Like maybe this is the full year, but like, I'm just gonna show you guys. Like, ew, I don't like the curvature and the things that are happening there. Like I want them to be more straight, and that spine just looks like it's gonna be in trouble soon. You know, I feel like that's an issue.